Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. It's Friday, April 11th, 2025, episode 359, Nowhere to Run. Well, so you know that gold closed at another record for the week, 3,236. Silver back over $32. And this is basically the new normal, where gold is going to be setting a new record, stock market all over the place, bond yields going up. So why is this happening? It's because foreign capital is leaving the United States, right? And so I explained it a little bit before. Better people than me explained it this way, that when you uh, buy things, right? So things are being imported. We pay for it with dollars. And so the countries that are taking dollars for the goods that they're delivering to the United States, well, they can't use dollars in their home country, right? They have their own, like, for example, China, they use yuan, so they don't use dollars. So what do the Chinese do with all of the dollars that they have, right? Because they can't, exchange it with the or use it to pay for the American goods that they're buying from America is just too much. Right? They're delivering so much more to the United States than the United States is buying from, delivering to China. And so you can call it the trade imbalance, whatever. So what do the Chinese, or any country for that matter, what do they do with all of the dollars? Well, they buy American stuff. They buy stocks, American things that are in America, right? Since they're not really producing anything. So they buy the stocks, they buy the bonds, they buy the farmland, they buy the factories. And every once in a while, you'll see those stories where people are complaining that the Chinese are buying farmland, prime farmland, right? And it's right next to a nuclear base. Well, I don't know about the next to military bases because there are military bases everywhere. But they're going to look for the best farmland, right? In other words, they're going to spend all of their dollars. There's no place else to spend them. They're going to spend them here. And so they buy stock in the stock market, and when the stock market goes down, typically they move into bonds. But instead of doing that, what they're doing is they're bailing. They're taking out all of their capital from the stock market, not buying U.S. treasuries and U.S. savings bonds or T-bills or whatever you call them. The name changes according to the duration, right? And so then they bring it back home. And so now they're going to spend all that money at home. They're not going to buy American products. And so this is why the stock market is going down and the bonds are going up, right? So the value is going, uh, how's that go? So when the interest rate goes up, that means the value of other bonds, right, are going down, right? Because or the bonds are going down. That's why the interest rate is going up, because fewer and fewer people want it. So you have to give them a higher yield to incentivize them to buy it because they're not worth as much any longer. But of course, that has the other ripple effect that all of the earlier treasuries that you sold at a lower interest rate, right, they lose value as well. And this is the problem that the United States is in. And Trump is trying to do things to lower the interest rate. That way, when they have to roll over all of those T-bills and bonds and whatever, that they roll them over into lower interest bonds, right? So instead of having to pay 4.5%, 5% on a 10-year bond or yield with 10-year certificate, they are going to roll it into something that's 2% or 3%, right? And so they are trying to cut the budget this way. It did not work, right? And so now what's the next move? Anyway, so we were talking a little bit about that. In class today, one of my eighth graders asked me, I think, when he goes home, he listens to all these different podcasts, and every day he comes in and he's asking me all these questions. It's a lot of fun. And it's kind of exciting to see someone who's in eighth grade always already kind of becoming aware of what's going on and really understanding this stuff and getting turned on by it. And when I was in eighth grade, I didn't. I wasn't thinking about any of these things. And so hopefully he'll be way ahead of the game and become, you know, a great person in the future. Anyway, it was Grandparents' Day today, and some of the students had their grandparents come in and visit them in the classroom. And it happened to be that eighth grade class. And just as I was finishing up my answer to that guy, one of the grandmoms, right, she said, "Oh, um, I lost, or my 401k lost half of its value because of all of these tariffs and everything that Trump is doing, blah, 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 right?" And so, first of all, I told her that I was really, really sorry that, because it was her retirement, that she lost all of it, right? But if not, if it wasn't the tariffs, it was going to be something else. Because this was something that was going to happen. And I explained to her that, for decades, well, not for decades, for like 15 years, I've been trying to get people to realize that this was coming. And so they have to position themselves differently. So not do 401k, for example. And then to get on her side because I knew that she clearly did not like Trump. Um, right. Because I know, I know her daughter or daughter-in-law, I don't know, and I know her granddaughter too. So then they're more on the left side of things. And so I just to get her to, uh, for me to get her to see that I'm not against her, to say that she was probably forced to do the 401k. Like I don't think I have one, even though I work for the university. I didn't do any of the retirement stuff. And if I had to, or if I was required to, I did the minimum because I knew I wasn't going to collect on any of it. So I said to her, "Hey, so you probably were forced to do it, and you were promised that it was going to be safe. Um, so and but it was actually a trap that we were all set up to be suckers so that other people, insiders, could make a killing, and they entice even more employees into the scam by saying that employers will double, right? They will match their contribution up to the maximum. And so basically for me to tell her, yeah, it's not her fault, but that's the way the system was set up. And she was promised that it was going to be safe, but it's not. And so she basically looked at me and said, "So where does one go? Where do I put my life savings? Where do I put, my retirement fund?" And I'm not a financial advisor. So, I was just kind of blow it off, but she pressed me. She's like, "Where do I?" And she had this look of desperation. And so she went from anger to desperation, anger at the fact that she lost half the value of her 401k, to desperation, like, "Oh dear God, no one ever said this to me. So where do you go if that's a trap, if that's a scam, compared to other options?" And she asked me if CDs were a safe bet. And it's funny because she's asking her granddaughter's history teacher about this stuff. It's kind of weird, but that's how desperate people become. Um, and so I basically, sidestep the issue a little bit. I'll probably, drop a line to her granddaughter because, I'm not a financial advisor. I shouldn't, and I don't think I'm allowed to say anything about this stuff. But she did ask me if CDs, certificates of deposits at banks, were a safe bet. And I basically said, no, banks are in trouble as well. And but it's crazy, right? Because no one is talking about it. No one is offering solutions. No one is right. In other words, what people are doing right now is when all of this stuff is happening, they're saying, "See, that's why Trump is bad," right? There's no solution, no alternative choice being offered to all these people who are now desperate. I mean, the way the United States culturally has been set up, right? You work hard your whole life and then you retire and then you're not a burden to your family and you live off of your savings. At least ideally, that's kind of what people are shooting for. Because once you become dependent, you become a burden on other people. They don't want to take care of you, right? And I know that I could tell that the grandmom was very, very proud that she was able to be independent, but now her 401k has lost her value. She doesn't know what to do. Um, and then Social Security is another bad play. Uh, it's the same deal. Government promises to that it'll be safe, it'll be there when they retire, and then there's nothing, right? There was a meme going around that long ago. I've seen similar things, but I'll just tell you what the meme said. You probably saw it. Um, it's probably not exact, but nevertheless, it's a good reference. This is what it said on the meme. It said the max that one can pay into Social Security per year is $10,453.20. If you did that every year from age 18 until retirement, the max you'll get from Social Security is $4,873 per month. If you put it in, if you put it into the S&P index fund instead, you would have received $32,583 per month. And so the last line on the meme was Social Security is a scam. Personally, I wouldn't have put it in the S&P and the S&P right now not doing so well. But you get the point that anything other than giving it to the government would have probably worked out better. It was part of the anyone can pick a good stock when the bubble is inflating kind of thing that I talked about yesterday. Um, but whatever how it works, you're entrusting the government to manage your finances in some part and and you trust them and they will let you down. I mean, come on. The things we've done to other countries, the things we've done that the government has promised people who collaborate and help American soldiers in these foreign countries, and then we abandon them. I did an episode after watching The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal in it. It just was so gut-wrenching because I don't know if it was based on a real story or not, but it's kind of like that, where all these people trusted the United States, trusted that they would get a ticket out of the United States, and then they're left behind and then they're hunted down and killed by the Taliban. And instead of trying to get those people out, what happens? We fly in illegal immigrants, don't even care about passport, visas, anything like that. So we abandon the people who helped the United States in these foreign adventures in other countries, and then we bring in criminals from other countries. It just boggles the mind. Like who, yeah. And so I always say the government hates you, right? They talk out of both sides of their mouth. They say that they care about you, they're fighting for you, but they hate you. And you can just tell by the things that they do. Uh, so Peter Schiff, I just got done listening to his episode 1021. The title was The U.S. Already Lost the Trade War. And from now on, probably what I'll do is just refer Peter Schiff, his podcast, to those people, and they can take it or leave it. Full disclosure, I did move as much as I could into Peter Schiff, right? So then he handles what little I have. Um, and it's really a pittance, kind of, really. But I did manage, they also handle nonprofits. So I was also able to set up the church with them, and that turned out well. At least that's one good thing I did for the church, right? But Peter Schiff pretty much called it exactly how it played out. He basically said, this is what's going to happen with all the tariff stuff. And the conclusion after listening to that episode is that basically Trump is not a genius. There is no plan. He messed up big time. He's shooting from the hip, and it's hit or miss. And no matter what happens, he'll always take credit. And if something bad happens, he always pushes the blame on someone else. In conclusion, in summation, his suggestion was to buy gold mining stocks, that will go up a lot. But you can listen to the episode and see if it makes sense to you or not. Obviously, he is no fan of the cryptos, any crypto, and I'm too old to want to play that game. And plus, I'm not really totally convinced either. So I don't even touch the stuff. I mean, you're free to do it. I mean, if you can make millions off of the cryptos, I guess great. But too bad for all the suckers who are left holding the bag, right? So let's get back to grandma. It was wild. In college, I was able, when I recorded my lectures, because we were all virtual and distance learning and whatnot, I would record my lectures and then I would tell the students you had to listen to them before you come to our Zoom meeting. And a lot of them, I'm talking a lot of them, told me that they would listen to it, the lecture, with their parents, right? And I guess it was part of that thing during the lockdowns where a lot of elementary school parents had to help their kids on their computers and happen to listen to all the lectures. And maybe that was it. They wanted to check on what I was saying. And it turned out that they really liked my lectures, which is pretty much like this podcast, right? But because their kids had to listen to it 3 times a week, they tuned in as well. So that was pretty fun. Now I'm reaching their grandparents, so it's pretty funny. But my response to her when our conversation was not about political party. We never mentioned a politician's name, right? But rather it's the system, that it doesn't matter who's in office, the problems that are created that we have to endure, that is the true institutional discriminatory problem. So we didn't talk about whose fault it was it Trump's fault, was it Biden's fault? No. But I did say that there were games being played and that we are pawns on the board for the benefit of others. And she got it right away, that it had nothing to do with the personalities or who, right? Who was in supposedly running the country. I talked about how people are so focused on learning who to hate and how to hate them that they don't learn the important things like learning how to spot a scam, or if you get caught in a scam like a 401k, how do you get out of it, right? Keep in mind, I don't think I have a 401k. I wouldn't know the first thing to do with a 401k. When I was younger, when I figured this out, I realized that I'm not going to get anything from Social Security. The taxes that I had to pay, see you later. I'm never going to see that again. Either because Social Security is bankrupt or because of inflation, it won't really matter. And so I try to take my retirement into my own hand. Speaking of retirement, if you think about it, retirement is a very recent, in the global scheme of things, it's a recent idea. And I think the concept of retirement will disappear like rotary phones, right? Older people will have to go back to work because their savings have just dried up, right? And it's because people didn't never learned how to spot a scam or to spot fear mongering, like about racism, about terrorism, about pandemics, etc. You know, and so what I've tried to focus on is, how to think rationally, how to, okay, this is what you're saying, so then is it legit? Is it legitimate? Or is it even plausible? And is it something that I would want to get into or not? Right. And so that I try to get people to think that way, and then they can make whatever choice that they want. I keep it open-ended too, because it allows for more innovation, creative ideas, things I could never think of. Right. And that's what it's all about. And so move away from this dynamic of today where so many people are just simply taught who to blame, who to hate, right? And so basically giving up all of our decision making uh, to others, right? So, oh, I hate Trump. Oh, okay. So now what are you going to do to save your savings? To at least try to rescue what you have left. No one is talking about it. It's just like, see, that's why Trump is bad. Oh, okay. Come on. Now, so what do I do? And that's what that grandma today, she was like, "What do I do?" And that's a question that no one really seems to want to ask. Most people are not taught to ask that question. They're just simply saying, "Well, the solution is to hate Trump." Right? Oh, okay, yeah, that helps me a lot. Um, so the rest of us, we're just simply collateral damage for those people in power, for those people in power. We literally paid for the bank bailouts in 2008, right? They all got bailed out, and a lot of people got kicked out of their homes, right? So as they say, the rich get richer, right? The corporate insiders, the political insiders, they get richer, and the rest of us we get poorer. And so I really think that this idea of retirement is going to become less and less of something to look forward to. Personally, I never thought of retirement. My dad never thought of retirement, right? That as soon the day you stop working is the day you're probably going to die, right? Life, and a lot of people do die that way. But personally, I never thought of retiring in the sense of, well, I'll just take vacations all the time, right? And that was the life course that I chose, right? Education in the university, which pays very little, ministry in the church, which pays even less, right? And at least the way that I do it, right? So I try not to get compensated a lot by the church so that the church remains fiscally sound. I know a lot of other people that bankrupt their church because they demand such a high salary. And yeah, that what's the point of that? It just I don't understand that. So for us, it's always about trying to save as much as possible, especially because I don't make a whole lot of money. Uh, but I'm always on top of it. I'm always getting burned, right? I got burned in the dot-com bubble. I didn't take advantage of the 2008 crisis. I'm always missing the boat. But hopefully, this information helps you. This perspective helps you. And I'm hoping that it helps that grandparent, that grandma that came today. And hopefully, my grandkids will one day, Lord willing, if I have any, if I get any, but maybe hopefully one day, if I do get grandkids, that they'll listen to this podcast and say, "Oh, yeah, Gramps podcast. Let's give it a listen, see what he had to say," and hopefully they get to benefit from this as well. But yeah, I mean, this is the new normal. Ever and ever higher gold prices, silver prices, probably, and a weakening dollar. It's nothing to really celebrate. It's nothing to really look forward to. Just hopefully, as many of us can get through it and not just go nuts or suicidal in the process. But that's it for this episode. I will talk to you on Sunday.